Hello everyone, welcome to another new video. Today I'm going to present ASP.NET Web API generic CRUD operation with Entity Framework Core and MSSQL Server database. So here is our project entire video or project overview. So we will create two different projects. First one is Web API project and second one is the model DLL project for Entity Core. And third option, as we can see, this is our ORM. We'll use Entity Framework Core. And entire things we'll use for a .NET SDK 8.0, which is latest version from Microsoft. So previously we'll use .NET 6, and now we are jumping to the .NET 8 for a latest stable SDK. And we can see our database is MSSQL Server, and we'll install some NuGet packages for Entity Framework Core and database migration. So I think DLL project and WebAPI project require some NuGet packages. So let's start step by step. So first I will create WebAPI project, then DLL project, and create models and install NuGet packages. Then we'll create DB context, the generic repository, make sure application DB connection string in a app setting.json file, and we'll make sure dependency injection into program.cs file. So this is the basic overview. So let's start. Before starting, let me just sure uh, we have installed the right .NET SDK 8.0 in your local machine. So you can check using simple command. Let me show you. Uh, so this is using PowerShell. You can check install .NET SDK version .NET version. So 8.0.1.101 installed in my local machine. So I'm using Visual Studio latest version 2022. So here is my Visual Studio. I'm going to create a new project, and we'll create ASP.NET Web API project. Next, and let me just name the project name is I already said the project name, Web API generic code .NET 8. And let me set the project saved location. Solution name is Web API generic code .NET 8. You can change, but for tutorial purpose project, this is absolutely fine. So next, you can select .NET SDK from the drop down. So as I installed the previous version 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, so we are using the .NET 8 now. And you can enable Docker not required for this project. Open API support, so that we can run the API and check the output using Open API Swagger documentations. And let's say use controller, or we need the controllers. We'll create two or three or four controllers for data communications. Create. So project is bootstrapping and creating the using the default framework libraries. So project created successfully. Here is our default project. If we run the default project, and then we just weather focused API, I will remove this API and clean and make it cleaner, so that we can understand the project structure and project coding flow very easily. Let me just run the project. If we run the default project, then we just have one simple static API, weather focused API. And with the Swagger documentation.net, if we run this default static API, then we have some static data. So how we get this static data? Then we have to go to the weatherfocused.cs. Here is the model, and if we expand the program.cs, then we have uh, the dependency like add controllers here, and into the controller weather focused API controller. So here is the static data freezing cool, mild, warm, hot. Anyways, so I'm just going to close this running project and let me just clean the program.cs file. So program.cs file, add services to this container. Already have add controllers, dot builders. So we have two instance using builder. We inject our required services and app for running the application add some services as well. So first I'm going to create model, make sure the model for database connectivity. I'm just zooming so that you can get clear overview. So using this solution explorer, I'm going to create a new project which is core.entity. Core.entity DLL project, add new project, ASP.NET class library project, class library, or you can search DLL class library project, .NET framework. Yes, this one is fine for us. Core.entity. Sorry, I just select the wrong things. We need the .NET DLL class library project, .NET Core. Next, core.entity, and if we select the next, yes, so I just select the right things now. We are going to use .NET 8.0 and create. So we have the model project now, and now I'm going to add the default model for this project. So first, I will create a base entity. Base entity. So let me just create a folder. Under that folder, we are going to add our model. So models. Let me just delete the default class. Already joined. And add new class which is a base entity. Sorry, I just mistakenly click the interface, so it will be class, so public class base entity, and we'll add three different field: id, created date, and updated date, which will be our default entity. Just removing the unused namespace. So our base entity ready. Now I'm going to add two different model. First one is branch, add new class, branch class, and not sure why this is. So second one is branch class, public. I'm just going to add integer 64 and public string name, public string description is fine. So let me just remove the null. Okay, so we have the branch class. Now I'm going to add another model for, we'll test two different APIs. So I'm just, one API was fine, but for more testing, I just add two API, two different model, branch, and second one is department. New class is a class, department class, public class department, public integer, public string name, public description, integer 64. So I'm going to extend the base entity now. Base entity, base entity. So, and also I have to extend base entity for branch class as well. Base entity. So this is the OOP concept, object-oriented programming. So we have we just extend base entity from two different. So our model is ready. If we just build for checking the errors, so we don't have any errors. Now I'm going to add this core.entity DLL class into our main web application. So into the dependency, right click, you can add the project reference core.entity. So our model is ready. Now our next step, create the required packages into the our main web API project. So we are going to install three different packages. First one is Entity Framework Core. First one is Entity Framework Core. I'm going to install using .NET command line. So by from the project Solution Explorer project name, from right click you can open it. Open in terminal. So using PowerShell, you can install the NuGet packages. Also, there is another option. You can use tool NuGet packages PMI package manager console, this one. Anyways, I'm going to install using terminal. So .NET add package Microsoft Entity Framework Core version 8.0.1. Enter. Notice I will share all install command into the project description. So we just install one package. Now I'm going to install remaining two packages. So next one is Entity Framework for SQL Server, and third one is Entity Framework Tool. Package installation success. You can check your install package reference by clicking your project. So we just install three different packages: Entity Framework Core, Entity Framework Core SQL Server, and Tool. And we just add one DLL library project into our main web API project. So we have done the required package installation. Now I'm going to create application DB context and make sure application DB context dependency injection into the program.cs file, and make sure the DB connection string here. So let me do one by one. Now I'm going to create application DB context. So let me just create one new folder, folder data. Under data folder, we can create application DB context for accessing data and make sure the database migration class application DB context and public application DB context, and we can extend DB context DB context. So automatically Visual Studio added the reference Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Now we'll add our model here. Like we can add some default code. So first one is like this is the constructor, default constructor, and make sure the on model creating model dot created. So now you can add your public db set entity name brn branch branch. Second one, department. Department. Now our model is ready. Sorry, application DB context part done. Now I'm going to make sure the database connection string here. So in .NET 8, we have add one additional parameter to make sure the small database connection. I will add two different connection string. First one is without username and password using Windows authentication, no CRUD, and second one using the Windows SQL Server authentication. So we have add one new different parameters here, trusted certificate true. Yeah. So in .NET 6, this part we can avoid, but if you are using .NET 8, you must add this part unless you cannot able to get able to run get connect the database successfully. So our connection string ready. Now we have to make sure connection string passing the connection string into the program.cs by initializing the db application db context using builders services. So builder dot services dot services. We already added controllers, not record the controllers. We are going to add application db context add scope. Sorry, application db context, right? So automatically it added the reference. So application db context added, and now I'm going to make sure the connection string. First we have to pull the connection string from application db context. So we are getting connection string using dot configuration to get connection string. So we have a connection string name here. We are going to use a SQL Server authentication. Now we have to pass this connection string add db context. So builder.service add db context, and in application db context, this is the lambda expression option dot use SQL Server. How you can use the lambda expression? Let me show you. OPTIONS option option dot add option dot use SQL Server. Use SQL Server, and SQL Server have one parameters connection string. So our DB connection string successful. Now our next part is make sure the database migration. So now I'm going to make sure the database migration. Here is our project. So currently we don't have any migration folder. If we run the migration, then it will automatically create a migration folder with some auto-generated code. Rebuild. Let me just open my SQL server so that we can check the database has been created successfully. Let me just make sure the new database name, web API generic code, um, API gen CRUD, CRUD. Using management studio 19, you can connect your SQL server. So I'm just going to open my SQL server. SQL server is opening desktop. So I'm just using my Windows SQL Server authentication username, dev, and password. So here is the database. We can check the database from the top down. Okay. Now our migration part using terminals. I'm going to migrate the database, but using package manager console, you can initiate the migrate and update the database. So migration command is simple. .NET entry framework code add migration. So using this command, you can make sure the database migration. Once migration successful, then you can add another command for a database update. So migration created successfully. If we expand the, we have a migration folder with some auto generate code and .NET .NET entity framework core database update. This time application will check the connection string. If connection string success, first application will build, then check the connection string. If connection string success, then it will migrate the database. So somehow we're getting some invalid globalization invariation. Okay, so I know this error how to fix. So you have to go to the project .cs file. So you can, by clicking the project name, you can go to that files. So in that file, this file extension is uh, dot cs pros. So in that file, we have to make sure invariant globalization false. FLSE false. Now .NET update. Build success. Hopefully, the database created successfully. And if we check the database, API gen CRUD, so we have successfully created a database, also the table. Now, if we check the table data, we don't have any data right now. Select start from branches and web API gen CRUD, so we don't have any data. Okay, so now we have to make sure the with some test data and create controller. Using controller, we can able to get apart from the full CRUD operation. So before creating controller, we have to make sure repository. So our next task is create a repository. Using generic repository, we can create the full CRUD operation. I'm going to create a new generic I repository. So yeah, I'm just going to create I repository. So we have a now we have to make sure this is interface public interface public interface I repository. Now I'll add some method listed method here. So first one is get all async, get by async t. So this is generic type. We will pass the different type of class. First, we'll pass the department, and then branch, and any type of class you can pass here. So we just make sure the generic interface, generic. So repository class interface created success. Now we are going to implement this repository. Uh, repository. So I need to create one new class, which is repository. In the repository class, we are going to extend irepository, and type where is here where t base entity. Now we have to implement, so that's why it's showing errors. So make sureing some now I'm going to initiate declare some variables. So first one is public read only application db context, second one is db set entities, and now I'm going to add a constructor. In the constructor we are going to make sure the application db context instance. So we have a db context, and using this context we can able to perform. Now I'm going to add get all async. So entity, so we have entity. Using this entity to list, this method will return all data set from the branch or department or any other table. So we have a get all. So then the other things I'm just going to copy and paste. I will explain the codes. So this is other operation like get all, get by id. We just add reference parameter id, and find, we can search using the id, and find by condition. You can add the condition, add we just adding the parameters, entity parameter, and update for same, and delete using the id. Save changes, this is the common operation for every time we're going to call context dot save changes. So we have ready I repository now. Yeah, repository. Now using the repository, we can able to perform complete CRUD operation. Now I'm going to create a new controller. As our repository is ready, now we can create our controller. So I'm going to create fresh new controller. Here is the default controller static, which is static controller, and let me just create step by step two controller. First one I will create branch controller, then I will create the department controller. Also will create one static data generator controller, so that we can get the default department and default branches. So in the controller, just right click, add new controller, empty controller, at I'll just name it branch controller, brancs, branch controller. So our branch controller is ready. Now I will inject application db context. First I will declare the application db context here. So we have a branch controller, just a default index uh, view. Let me just make it sorry, I need to create the web api controller. Somehow I make it general, create the general controller. uh, okay, we can make it a web api controller. uh, just we need to add some additional code, like api controller. and also the route. route first bracket and the API slash controller 70 now I will inject the repository. Let me just declare the variable I repository private I repository, and as entity I will pass the branch model branc branch. So let's name it branch repository. Branch repository. So we need to create default constructor ctor. Sorry, ctor double tap. So I repository. Now we have to pass this I repository to branch repository. Sorry, branch underscore branch repository to branch repository. So we have a ready instance now. Using this instance, we can easily perform full CRUD operations. So let me just create one by one CRUD operation. First, I will create get all operation. So using to create all operation, let me just create one function public asynchronous async task action result ACTION action result. In under the action result, we will pass I enumerable I enumerable. Yes, and we will pass the model branch get all. So we need to make sure the HTTP get and also the route name HTTP get, and we can set the route route is get. You can use small letters as well. So return okay under the first bracket await, and using our repository instance branch underscore branch repository dot get all asynchronous. Done. So we just successfully created I get all get all for the branch repository. Currently we don't have any data in the branch repository, so if we just test purpose run the project rebuild, then definitely we can have a get all API in the Swagger documentation, and we can able to call the get all. So run. So Brown's controller, we just one method get all. If we just try it out, execute, unable to. So there. So we need to add dependency injection for a repository. So that's why we are getting an error. We are getting an error. Let me just confirm it from the program.cs file. We need to make sure a repository dependency injection here. So as we use generic repository pattern, so using builder dot services dot add scope add SU add scope. Under the add scope, we have to pass type of I repository and I repository. Type I repository and type of repository. Done. So let me just rebuild and run project again. So hopefully this time without any unexpected errors, we can successfully get all branch API call. So if we execute the get all, then we can have without any error. So status code is 200 and success, and response body is just empty. Let me just add some dummy data so that we can get some sample data using the dummy data. So using the dummy data, I need to add seed data. Uh, Seed data in the data. I'm just going to create add new class, and which is seed data. Public class seed data. I'm just going to create two methods: create all branch and create all department for dummy. So enumerable get all list. So this is the branch list, and this is the department list. So using this dummy data, we will create using the static data controller or seed data controller. We can able to get create. So let me just create seed data controller first. Seed data controller. Add new controller. So API controller, empty controller, and seed data controller. Using this seed data controller, um, I'm just going to copy and paste so that it will be faster. So here we have, I just make sure branch repository instance and department repository instance. Using the two instance, I just create add seed data for branch and department as well. So if it is like count branch is table empty, then it will insert. Same goes for department table as well. So we have a ready seed data controller. Now just I make sure another static data controller so that we can check the API. So another one controller is add new controller, web API empty controller, static data controller. So using this static data controller without the DB connection, we can get able to uh, get listed static data from this array. Like I already declared some array here. So if we build again and run the project, then definitely without any issue or error, we will get the static data controller list of data, and also we can able to insert the using the seed data controller, and then if we call the branch controller, then we hopefully will able to get the list of data. So we have a branch controller, get all, seed data controller, and the static data controller. Let's see the static data controller execute. Now, so successfully we can get the a list of some player names, international player names. So let me just insert seed data using the seed data controller. Try it, execute. So branch added 4 and department added 4. So if we just execute the get all branch, then hopefully we'll get a list of branch. Yes, so so we have a branch list here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So list of branch, and so we just confirm the get all. Now I will make sure the rest of operation, edit, update, and delete operation. So in the branch controller, we have just get all. Now I'll make sure rest of operation I get edit, update, and insert operation. Get by ID using the ID param, we can get using the branch instead. We can get the department, get the branch by filtering the ID where condition. And also get by name, we can pass the string parameter here. And here's the add operation. We just passing the branch model here, and branch is adding using the repository, branch repository. Same goes to update. And if we go to the first we call update repository, and the second we just make sure the save changes asynchronously, and third one is a delete operation. So just confirm the branch controller. Now I'll make sure another controller, which is department controller, so that you can perform more testing and practicing purpose. Department controller, add new controller. It will be API controller, API empty controller, and department controllers. So this is default controller. First you have to make sure the instance of the repository with the param generic type, it will be department type. Let me just copy so that it will be faster. So you have to inject I repository here. So you have a ready department repository. Using this repository instance, you can get the get all, get by ID, and get by name, add operation, update operation, and delete operation. So always you don't have to need to execute the link operation here. So we just perform complete CRUD operation into the repository. I already explained. So my add operation, we just passed default entity here, and finally add entity. And for save operation, we just use another default. So using this generic repository. So hopefully you understand the complete application flow. So now we have a two controller and two complete controller. If we run project again, then you can able to perform complete CRUD operation using this generic web API CRUD operation with a .NET 8.0. So branch controller, we can able to get all operation. Here is a list of data, and also we can check like get by ID. If we try and pass the, let's say, 3, execute, then we can get the 3 number list. And if we want to add new item, try out, create a date and test. Description is TBD. And if we execute, success. So if we now execute like get all operation, execute. Then we have like test branch number 5, test gpt. So branch operation working as expected. If we test more like department controller, and if we select the get all department controller, try it out, execute, and then we can able to get the entire department list. So we have almost done. Before closing video, let me just explain the entire project flow and the architecture of this project. So we have created two projects. First one is web API project, and second one is class library project. Both are .NET using .NET SDK 8.0. So this project is web API project, and second one is class library project using .NET SDK 8.0. And we have installed NuGet packages in the web API project. Sorry, you can avoid this part. NuGet packages only web API project. So we have installed three different NuGet packages. Let me just ensure by clicking your project name, you can get able to open CSPros file dot extension. So entity framework core, SQL server, and tools. So three different tools for ORM. And so this is the we have explained controller, DB context, generic repository, app setting for database connectivity, and program.cs file for make sure the declaring your dependency injection. And the class library project, we declare two class, model class, branch and department, and also the base class for the common entity. And in this project, we have used entity framework core and for code first project approach, and make sure the database migration using the terminal. We just install all packages, also the database migration, and entire application using SQL Server. So entity framework core is managing relation between SQL Server using the model and the DB context. So controller is calling the DB context, and a generic repository basically calling the DB context, and DB context calling you with the help of model, entity framework core, and MSSQL. Finally, the controller is processing data and return to the API in the front end, like Swagger documentation, also the Postman. Also, if you use some your client project, then you can get able to get the data. So thank you for watching video, and hopefully you will understood the entire application flow, and how you can perform the complete CRUD operation using ASP.NET 8.0 with entity framework core and SQL Server database. So here is the complete application. So we have a branch complete CRUD operation API, department complete CRUD operation, seed data for generating data, static data for testing the API, and weather forecast is this is the default. So thank you again. See in this, hopefully see in the next video. And if you like this video, and if you have a nice feedback, then definitely you are most welcome to share your feedback into the comment section. I will share entire project source code link. I will upload into the GitHub repository and share the GitHub repository link into the video section. So thank you again. So bye bye.